What's up, everybody? I haven't streamed in like forever, so I don't even know if anybody's gonna be here today. But I'm just gonna hang out and chat. So if you are here, let me know if the audio sounds okay or normal. I'm in a new apartment, and I have this basic setup for streaming at the moment. But I hope you're all doing amazing. And I just wanted to just hang out for a bit. I don't really have too many plans, but if you have questions, let me know in the comments. I just love to chat with you, talk about what's been happening, where I've been working mostly. But let me know how you all doing. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me what's happening. And again, don't be shy in the chat. So I'm just gonna just chill here and randomly do stuff. And if people jump in, I don't expect too many people jump in because I kind of let and not streamed in forever. So I'm just gonna hang out. Maybe talk about some of the projects I'm building. If you're a beginner starting out, what's a good project for you to work on? I've been lately doing a lot of stuff with Next.js. Before I get too burnt out, I mean I like Next.js. But it's like a simple project. I think it's like a good first project for someone to just start out. Because I always love stuff on YouTube, and I want to make I get to make videos, but I hate adding descriptions to videos. And so, for instance, if I record a video, what I do is I make it so let's say I made a video and I'm like, yeah, I'm too lazy to write a description. I can just copy this. Next GS app I'm doing. It's got next sign in. By the way, I'm just gonna chat and hang out. So if you have questions, let me know. I'll scan them. But otherwise, I'll just keep talking. But this is I'm just showcasing recent Next.js project I was working on. Basically allows you to summarize videos. Maybe it'll go up, maybe it won't. But I think it's a cool project for beginners is to build something with Next, build something that you hit an API, to generate your summary. Like for instance, here the point of this app for me, like I said, I don't want to make and write descriptions for my videos, so I upload them unlisted, and then I'll put them in this app, and it'll go ahead and generate the summary, key takeaways, some of the suggestions for keywords, and then I could go ahead and add this to YouTube. And if you want to see the code of this project, I'll share the code. I'll put it in the chat. It's something I'm in the process. So one of the things I wanted to do on this channel is I just talk about the things that I'm doing, and I feel like because of my I just realized my music is blaring like you wouldn't believe, or the audio. Let me turn that down. But that's going to be whatever. I'm surprised no one in the chat called me out, being like, "Hey, your audio is too loud. Like, what the hell are you doing? You're killing us all here with your audio." But let me make sure that I turn. I like to listen to music when I stream. If that's annoying, definitely let me know. I'll tune it down or make it very quiet indeed. Anyway, so I'm just hanging out, say hello, say where you're at, what you're doing. Oh, I just realized I haven't been looking at my chat like an idiot. Logic Indie is here, Jose Fon's here, Northern Chip, the crew is here basically, the OG, you guys been with me forever, so that's kind of cool. How's your weekend going? How you all doing? What you guys been up to with everything? I just been slowly I've been so busy at work that it's been kind of ridiculous, which is a good problem to have. And I am trying to get more consistent on this YouTube channel, create more content. I don't know what people will like, the type of stuff that I do. I've been focusing a lot more on building things because I think that's kind of what I want to continue to get better, is just building things faster and try new things, and also try to figure out what videos do better. I actually don't want to do too many reaction videos, but I know a lot of people like those. I know a lot of people love to watch others react to other stuff. Jose says, looks like PHP is back. Your thoughts? So what's interesting, I never hated PHP. It's just not the language that I want to do. I know a lot of people kind of been exploring Laravel and stuff like that. For me, like, I am not going to touch PHP. I'm going down just going to stick to like the React ecosystem. I either build stuff with Next.js, Remix, or Astro. And then for my backend, obviously you all know I use Strapi or any headless CMS would do, because I hate building things completely from scratch, because to me at the end of the day, I just want to build something that I could deliver quickly. So I want to iterate like quick. And this is why I love coding with Cody, because he just builds stuff, iterates fast, sticks to his guns. He basically uses for like a lot of his projects Next.js, and he really loves Convex. So I think like when you're building stuff, and this is kind of going to be my take on PHP, is find something that allows you to be fast and allows you to be productive. So whatever that is for you, is it PHP, is it React ecosystem, is it ASP.NET, whatever it is, if it allows you to move fast, I think that's the framework for you, and that's kind of something you want to focus on and work on. But for me, it's always been React at the moment. Some of the things that I'm trying to explore, like there's so many different AI tools out there, right? And kind of trying to figure out what are they actually capable of. And for me, I feel like the best tool so far that I've used for AI stuff, like in coding, has been Cursor. And I know there's a new one out. Let me share my screen. There has been Cursor, and there's also somebody was saying, was it like Windsurf or something like that? Windsurf. I haven't tried this one out yet. Windsurf IDE. Windsurf Editor by Codium. So a lot of people were saying like some good stuff about this. One of the tools that I recently used that I was like, I don't know who this is for. I wasn't really that impressed with it. It's Bolt.new. And here you could type build me, like if you say something like build me a simple landing page, I guess that's kind of cool. It's going to go ahead and like create some stuff for you, build the landing page. It will set up the project. I don't know how I feel about it, just setting up the project and stuff like that and writing majority of the stuff for you. And I think like human language is so ambiguous that you're always going to get like you're not going to get consistency, in my opinion. But I don't know how I feel about this whole idea of writing everything, because then you really have to work on changing a lot. And then I feel like for Bolt in general is you need to kind of, interact in its editor. So look, it created a cool website. Okay, good. Like, that's great. But like, why if I'm going to be like, hey, Bolt, let's try something better. Create a project that is using micro front and pattern, and please use Next.js, Vue, and what else? There's Next, Vue, and Angular to power on I can't spell, on online store. And then let's see what it does. Like, so I'm kind of like still wondering like where these tools sit and live. Have I tried Grok? No, I haven't tried Grok yet. So what I've been like focusing on, is just React, Node, Next.js, and in terms of like AI stuff, just Cursor. Like I'll tell you like my workflow, and so I guess this is kind of cool. It does stuff like, the thing with like stuff like this where it generates everything, I kind of very skeptical, because to me it means that if I'm not happy with a lot of this, I would have to edit and redo a lot of the stuff myself. And I also kind of looking at this code. Let's see here. I think it's using Next.js for everything. I'm kind of curious to see. No, it's using Angular. So it is kind of doing the thing, but I'll be curious if it builds. I'll be curious if it works, like what pattern it's using. So for me, like I know for a fact if I ask it to do the same thing with the same prompt, it's gonna build me something slightly different. And so I'm kind of not sold 100% on. Okay, so it's stuck. Never mind. It didn't. See, it didn't finish. So I don't know. Bolt is not my thing. So one of the like my favorite my flow basically to building things. I really love Astro for like if someone said to me, Paul, build a vanilla JavaScript website for me that's fast performance for SEO. I love Astro, and I built a couple of different Astro projects. I really like it. For Astro, I literally choose to write vanilla HTML using Astro components. I don't bring React or any of the other frameworks. You can in Astro. I just use Astro with Astro components. So Astro is really awesome. Another framework I really loved, but they kind of took a little backseat. Not really a backseat. I still love Remix. Remix is pretty awesome. Actually, this website I built, codingafter30.com, where you like, again, I'm doing this all just for like my own love and enjoyment. Don't think that I'm going to be trying to sell you courses, but you can go here and look at courses. The one thing that I'm going to tell you, because I'm so busy, like I started this Astro this Astro course, and I got to part 5. Hopefully maybe one day part 6 will come out. But anyway, the reason why I have this project is because I wanted to build a couple different things with a couple different frameworks. So I wanted to have like a excuse. I am going to add a new feature here that I haven't done yet, but I'm going to start because I kind of figured like, hey, wouldn't it be awesome if I could get folks leave me suggestions and comments that I have one place to look up, because looking stuff up on YouTube comments is just really hard. So I'll probably finish this up at some point. I am taking a week off for Thanksgiving, so I'll probably work on this. But yeah, this is built with Remix, which is kind of awesome. And then what I've also started to do, so basically here's the thing, like whenever you doing something and you want to figure out what framework is better, than another, just build the same projects with a couple of different frameworks. I know it's time consuming. I know it's annoying. So for instance, if you take a look at my Vercel projects, I have Remix project starting. This is my Coding After 30 website. But if you take a look here, let's see, Next LMS is going to look similarly ridiculous. Why? Because I'm literally building the same project with Next.js. This is Next.js project here. And this is a Remix project. And I'm kind of doing it because I want to see the differences between both frameworks and to see what things they do better, what things they do worse, and to be able to kind of talk about them a little bit more like I know what the hell I'm talking about. Let me see the questions. And again, please spam me with questions because I haven't streamed in a while. I didn't like really think of too many topics. I might sure that like chat with you all and answer questions. So Brian has a question. Brian's question is, in the eyes of employers, the comment disappear. In the eyes of employers, do you think these AI tools devalue the work of developers these days? Employers getting away with paying less, etc. That's such a tough question, and I think it's fairly loaded. I think talking to a bunch of folks, I think it is having an effect, but the effect is not as straightforward like, hey, let's not hire junior developers. I think certain things, like when we saw I just used Bolt to generate, I just broke Bolt because I asked it to do something really complex. But if I say create a simple landing page using Next, right? Because it's able to do it so quickly, I think like the barrier to entry as a junior developer like will be a little bit higher. So some of these simple things that AI is able to do, right, you should be able to do as well, like simple landing pages. I'm not talking about complex stuff, but coding basics that you should probably know as a junior anyway. And so in the eyes of employers, like I think like it depends who you talk to. So when I talk to managers, they're like, oh my God, AI is the greatest. Let's like use more AI tools and have less developers. But in reality, when you talk to developers who use these tools, they're like, the tools are helpful, but they're not perfect, and you still need developers. And so I feel like depending how the employer views the tools, they might have a different opinion. And in terms of like paying less, I think the economy is kind of more like with the job market the way it is. I think it's more the economy than AI, to be honest, in my opinion. But I feel like I wouldn't worry too much about AI. If you want to break into this industry, like the things that I would say is just keep improving your skills, keep working, And the most important skills that I think you can develop in this industry is basically not so much just your coding knowledge, meaning like knowing the syntax and knowing how to build components, because I think AI tools will help you in that, but it's to continuously to improve your critical thinking, problem solving, debugging. Debugging and reading other people's code and making sense of it is huge, because you have to, before you could fix a problem, you kind of have to understand the problem. What are you trying to solve? And then you have to be able to find exactly where the issue is happening and understand why the issue is happening before you could fix it. So I think these tools, like AI tools, they'll help us to move fast, but in terms of, apply, like thinking through a problem before you could solve it, critical thinking, and just trying to figure things out through debugging, like all those skills like are not going anywhere, and those are the skills that you as a developer would have to be in charge. And so for me, like what I've been focusing on, because I know these AI tools exist, they could help me do the easy stuff. So I've been trying to figure out what are the more higher like level things that I can do to add value as a developer to get things done faster. And what I've been doing for my personal goal is like, so here's one issue, and if I'm all over the place, my ADHD is like really hardcore today. But one of the like things that I've discovered is that I've built many apps, right? And if you kind of zoom out and you take a look at all the apps I built, they're literally use the same things. Okay, they got basic auth. Oh, they got a form for full CRUD functionality, create, update, delete. They have you have pagination, you got search, okay, and every app basically is that. And so I found that like 80% of apps I could build in terms of like front-end UI and basic API integration with auth, with search, with pagination, that's pretty much every app online, right? And once you do that, you're like doing the same thing all over again when you're building an app with those needs for somebody else. So what I started to do is to figure out, okay, Paul, like, yeah, you already know how to do this. Don't build the same thing twice. Basically try to figure out to do something that's like 5 to 10% out of your reach, and try to build it yourself. And by the way, this is like Logic Indies here. First, let me go to your comment. I've been doing a bit of job searching, but no luck. What do you think about the market in 2025? The job search thing is very tough, and I think it just takes time and perseverance. But there is jobs there, because I go to a local meetup in Austin, and I went. I remember, like, I went like a couple of months ago, and there's a bunch of people that like all were like, oh, we got laid off, we blah blah blah, we don't have like jobs. And then I went a month later, all those laid off developers, they were able to get rehired again. And one of my close friends recently got laid off, and he just recently got hired, and I think he was laid off for about a month. And I think, anecdotally, there's people that have been laid off for 6 months, and then there are people that are laid off for 1 month. And I don't know what some of these other people are doing, but I know my friend Jeff, like what he did is basically he's like, I'm laid off, I have no job. Let me kind of fix my resume. Let me rewrite a few things. And he basically took the time that he would have been working if he had a job. So like 8 hours a day is basically identifying companies that he wanted to work for, doing research, reaching out to those companies, working with recruiters, and following up, emailing those companies directly, like, asking friends for referral, like all of these things that he did to kind of help him, continue to find leads like a salesperson of companies that he could possibly work at. And he went on interviews, and to be honest, some of the interviews he went on, he didn't do as well. And some of the interviews he went on, he did really well. And so it's like everybody, and he has like a lot of experience. And so it's one of those things that is just, you just have to keep going and keep doing actively until you get hired. And for me, looking to make friends in the industry that could refer you and socializing, going to meetups and meeting people that you could, connect with, who might know of an opportunity that exists for work. That's still like my number one approach. But when looking for a job, you kind of have to try to go for like all the strategies that you have. And after talking to my friend who got laid off and got hired again, one of the things that we discussed is what everybody needs to do is create a strategy. Maybe it's every 3 months, maybe it's a monthly thing you do, but people should never take their work for granted. And you should have a strategy of constantly kind of going through that process where you apply, you get interviews, and then you prepare for interviews, and maybe that could be like a 3-month cycle. So the idea while you work, obviously things are great, and you're like, oh, things are going good, I don't have to worry about anything. So you don't worry about trying to find interviews or apply to different positions while you're working. And then when you get laid off, you're like, oh my God, this is crazy, I am out of my mind, what am I going to do? And I think like if you created a strategy, and this is something I haven't been doing and I'm starting to do, is every 3 months just go and apply and go on interviews and have this be like a quarterly thing. And if you do get something cool and if it makes sense, like maybe that's the time for you to change jobs, or maybe use that as a negotiation for your salary, or the fact, like, hey, this is where the market stands today. But I feel like there are jobs that are just very hard to get in terms of the effort you have to put to get it, because I've seen many people who got laid off and got rehired. Out of like all the acquaintances that I have, nobody's still unemployed. But again, it depends on your area, it depends where you're applying, and sometimes like things might be tough in your area and you might have to apply in places that may not be directly what you're looking for. And let me go to questions here. I don't know if that was a good answer for you, Indy. But I think jobs, as the economy improves, jobs will come back. I think what's happening, like to finish up on Indy's question before I jump down, is that a lot of companies, they're basically trying to make the numbers look good at the end of the year. So they're doing a lot of layoffs. And I heard this firsthand due to certain processes. And I've seen this. They might lay off some people, and then after they go through whatever that cycle is, they'll rehire back the same people, which I think is crazy. Like, why not try to figure out how to keep? But, companies work in mysterious ways. And do you think there's enough legacy code to focus on older technology to be worth learning things like jQuery? I think it depends, like the niche where you're going to go. Like, I know like there's people like they joke with me. It's like, Paul, if you want to make tons of money, just learn Fortran, because there's a lot of legacy code written in Fortran, and there's not that many Fortran developers, which I don't know if that's the route I would go. But I think like in terms of, development, like there is no easy kind of like answer, because it's like I feel like everybody who gets hired, there is like a bit of luck, but luck again comes with like preparation, reaching out to folks, and doing all the things that you do to kind of find that opportunity. But in terms of like, would I say spend time on learning old technologies just so you could find your niche? I don't think that's the strategy I would go for. I think what I would do is wherever you live, like take a look at what are the most common tech stacks that people use, and just only focus on those, on the tech stacks that are popular in your area. And then the other thing, what I do, if you're looking to find jobs, a lot of people, what they do is they send their resume, and that's all they do. And I think sending resumes, it's not a good way to get hired, because most people are not going to respond with the amount of resumes that you get. And I was talking to, actually, I don't know if you guys knew, and everybody, I met the guy from the channel YouTube, Internet of Bugs, and we had a pretty good discussion. And then he actually came in and did like a live stream. So once in a while, when I want to talk to interesting people, I tell them like, oh, I have a YouTube channel, come talk to me. And then I ask them like questions that I want answers to. So I have another channel that I didn't talk too much about it because I just started it, like Coffee Code and Chat, where I do like long form interviews. So this guy from Carl from Internet of Bugs, so I had a chat with him, and what he told me, he said, in the times of bad economy, for some employees and for some companies, it's just much easier to go for folks that have degrees, because it's very easy to vet them. You know what I mean? And he was kind of saying it's not impossible to get a job without a degree, but when the economy is tough, most companies might prefer that way. But we also talked about it, the fact that getting hired, and finding a job, it's two different skills than doing the job. And so kind of having and learning the ability how to present yourself and how to sell yourself becomes like very important. How do you present your resume? How do you, approach interviews? But the biggest thing that I'm going to say is that if you're just sending out resumes, that's going to be like a really long path to getting a job, and you probably won't, because sending out resumes alone, it just doesn't work. And my friend who just recently got hired, he actually worked with a lot of recruiters. And if your strategy is just sending resumes, add to that working with recruiters. Another strategy to add is start going to meetups and talking to people and asking if there are opportunities. The meetup that I used to go to Austin, the company that sponsored it, after every meetup, they say, hey, if you're looking for a job, like, please give us your resume. So some meetup co-hosts do that. But, network, meet people, work with recruiters, obviously continue to send out your resume, and then also apply to companies directly. Like, go on LinkedIn, find like the people in charge and literally email them yourself, and then send your resume. Be like, hey, I was looking at your company. I see that you're working with this, and you got to like prep for those. You got to kind of do your research and just be like, hey, I see that these technologies are using, like, this is exactly what I specialize in. And, just write them an email and see if, where it goes. And again, like, are you guaranteed to get a response? Probably not. Nobody owes you an answer. But the point is to continue to follow up and be proactive on your job searching. Let's see. Bad vibes. I'm a software developer in India. My question is, how is the job market situation over there? So I know India is really, really competitive. And from some of the friends that I do have in India, they said, like, if you don't have at least a bachelor's degree, it's probably almost impossible to get a job. Let me know if that's true or not. But that's what I hear. It's very competitive, very hard, and degrees matter probably a lot more than they do like in the States. In terms of how the jobs here, the job market here is tough. But if you're a developer and you had previous employment before, getting a job is not impossible. If you're brand new, it's not impossible to break into the industry. It just takes a lot more effort because there's a lot of competitors. Also talking to a lot of developers, I'll come back to this. Let me just go on chat for now. And front-end developers worth it, as I'm trying to switch from embedded system to front-end. Wow, that's a pretty interesting switch. Like, did you not enjoy like working with embedded systems? I would think like that's something that probably be like better, like more technical, maybe pays more. I don't know. I've never done embedded system engineering. But again, I would say if you enjoy front end, it's something that you want to do because you like it. And let's say embedded system makes you miserable. Maybe that's a thing to consider. Yeah. And so, yeah. Yeah, and that's unfortunate, and it sucks. Like, right, there's not much you could do besides keep trying, and that's with everything. You know what I mean? Like I'm 45 years old, so in my lifespan, I had multiple different careers, and some of you know I've done Brazilian jiu-jitsu coaching. I had my own Brazilian martial arts academy, and when I first started doing that, my mom was like, what are you doing? You need to like get a real job. Having a business and teaching people wrestling, you'll never make money that way, right? And at first I didn't, right? I kept trying. I failed miserable. I learned that having a business, the biggest thing is, besides that you have to do everything yourself, is that you need to be responsible for getting your clients. So if I didn't go out, and I've used different strategies, like if I didn't go out in public doing like demos, if I didn't call people like randomly and asked if they wanted to consider bringing their like kids or themselves taking, let's say, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if I didn't do this active outreach, I would never grow my school with students. And that's very similar to me from getting a job. If you're not actively doing these steps outside just sending your resume, if you're not doing those extra things, like it's going to be impossible to get hired, just like it would have been impossible for me to kind of like start my business. And and the reason I bring it up is because one consistent thing I've realized in my journey through multiple careers, and now I worked as a developer, now I work as a developer advocate for a French company, where I do have code, have talking to developers. From all the previous jobs I had that were non-tech related to the job that I have now, is the way I got all those jobs is through talking to people, reaching out to people, and making real connections. It wasn't so much sending out my resume, it's looking for those opportunities. And I feel like no matter what profession you're in, you need to go that extra mile. And a lot of people say like, oh, like I hate sales, like I hate doing this. Like the way you get a job is you sell yourself to the person that's interviewing you. And that process starts from knowing enough to actually be able to do the job, and then knowing how to get interviews. And that, includes many steps like working with recruiters, reaching out to people directly, sending out your resume, going to meetups, making connections, a lot of stuff. Yeah, and Bad Vibe says, in terms of my question, yeah, it is almost impossible to get a job without a degree. And what's interesting is, like, I always worry because I think like I'm very privileged. I think I'm very lucky to have the job that I have now. But if I ever got fired or laid off, like what would I do? Of course, I'll go through all the things that I'm telling you. I would apply. I would reach out to people. I would continue to go to meetups like I do now. I would continue to send resumes and probably get another job. But the one question I've been asking myself is, where does freelancing fit in? And is it a genuine thing of maybe doing it part-time and trying to figure it out, as having it as a backup if you can't get a job? And then another thing that I've noticed in some of these companies is that when a company lays folks off, I noticed that instead of hiring full-time employees, they hire contractors. So I thought about it, and I think that might be like another way to get into the industry, instead of just trying to get hired directly by the company, is getting and looking for contracts through like either staffing agencies or what have you, or recruiters, or you yourself, like just saying, hey, I'm self-employed, I do contract work, and try to get that way. And I think the benefit for companies there, and it's not a good one for us, is that when you're a contract employee versus proper employee, they don't have to pay, your health insurance. They don't have to pay certain things. But at the same time, if you work as a contractor for 6 months to build your experience for a company, you might not get all the benefits, but at least you get the experience of doing the thing that could boost your resume and your skill. So I think like that's all the things I considered. And in my, I did let me get back. Let me go back to my channel, view your, let me back up here. Yeah, so I just recently did a interview with Nick. This guy here, that's a bad place to freeze. That was slightly better. Yeah, okay. Anyway, there's the thing like on YouTube, when you freeze frame on any possible thing, everybody looks dumb, right? Let's see, like, let's find like where the face looks okay. All right, that looks better. But anyway, so like I talked to Nick, and Nick had an interesting story. So he went to school for data science. I think he graduated with master's, and he decided that he really enjoyed building apps, working with front end. And so he transitioned from data science to being a web developer freelancer. And one of the things he told me, what was interesting like about freelancing for him, is he said, hey, like one of the things that I like about freelancing is that you always constantly have to keep your skills sharp, because you don't know when you're going to get your next client. You might have like, bunch of clients in like 1 month, and then 4 months later you have 0 clients. So this inconsistency, he said, even though it's scary, he said it always keeps you on your toes and always keeps you working on improving your skills and developing new skills that could be marketable, because you never feel like you're safe. You never feel like you have that safety net that you could rely on. And one of the things I was thinking is like, hey, like that's an interesting point, because like when you're at a job, you might get comfortable. Some people will be like, Paul, I would never get comfortable. That's not true. And like I talk to a lot of folks that say that, and then 2 years into it, they just don't really worry about gaining new skills. They're happy with the job that they have, and before you know it, your kind of skills that you knew when you started your job are now irrelevant. And I think this idea of kind of figuring out as a freelancer what can you offer, or what skills you can have that could make you marketable, and doing that as a backup. But I don't know if it's a good strategy. Like I personally would like to try it, but I know that it's not for everybody. And Sanjeev Kumar, hey, what's up? Hello, can you please share Strapi 5 with Next 15 corporate website starter? So we actually just released a new product. One second. My cat is making big mess here. So we actually sunsetted the Strapi corporate starter. What you could do is, if you go to GitHub, let me share my screen here. I'll put the link. And if you have questions, Strapi has open office hours on Discord. You could come by. But if you go to take a look at Strapi Corporate Starter, we recently archived it. And the reason why is because we have a whole new project called Launchpad. And it's using, I believe, Next 14. Maybe we will migrate to Next 15 at some point. Shouldn't be that difficult, but it's using Strapi 5. What I did for this particular project, if you look under the branches, you're going to see that there's a Strapi 5 migrating. I think this branch has been upgraded to Strapi 5. But honestly, like if you want to see a good example of what Next 15 and Strapi 5 would look like, I would definitely check out the Launchpad application. And if you... let me go back here. You could like for the Launchpad, you could literally just clone this repo, get it started. If you didn't want to clone it, if you kind of wanted to see what's it about, if you go to strapi.io, and you say try live demo, you could add like basic information, Paul whatever, Bratzlavsky at strapi.io. Oh, that's name. I can't read. It's too early for me. It's too early. It's almost afternoon. So Bratz work email sounds good. You could get a demo that they'll spin up a thing for you. I always put student for everything or other. I'm a student because that's how I feel like all the time. Student. You click access live. What they're going to do, they're going to basically send you a link to the front end demo and the back end demo. That way you could check it out. But honestly, if you're a developer, you don't need any of that stuff. You just go to this repo, follow the steps in the README. And it's a pretty cool project because it has a lot of additional functionality that we didn't cover in the Strapi Corporate Starter, the basic one. So I would highly recommend this and checking it out. And I'll show you the demo once. Yeah, so here we go. So we could go to Strapi admin. Boom. You're going to have the admin area, pre-populated password. And so here you're going to see my network is a little bit slow. So, and also I'm sure this demo is not running on the fastest service because it's a demo. But you could also see the Next.js front end. So this is the front end. It's pretty cool, pretty nice. And so you could look into the code. You could see exactly how we're fetching data, how we're doing everything. And what I would say, this would be a good example project for you to kind of see, how the things, work with Strapi and Next.js, the typical. But I like this because this is a nice and pretty project. And you could literally use this as the starter as well. And then, by the way, it's loading. Part my internet, part something else maybe. But anyway, I would suggest you could get started with this locally and check it out. We also have good example of internalization. I think it might not be implemented in terms of we did not translate the blog post content to the language, but I think the basic features are there. So definitely check that out. That's what I would say. Yeah, but I'm also always building stuff with Strapi 15. I mean, Strapi 5 Next 15. So I'll share stuff that I do as I continue to work and make videos for my channel. Let's see if any other questions here. Yeah, that's awesome. So I want to learn front end to switch to full stack. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think you're definitely be on the path. In terms of folks thinking that AI is going to take away jobs, I clearly don't think that. I think AI is going to be just like anything else, like a tool. And if you worked with AI a lot, I think there's a lot of people that really hype up AI and kind of make it sound better than what it really is. But when you work with AI on a daily basis, it's not as straightforward as people think it is. And so I don't. I think I'm gonna say maybe be a hot take, but you will need developers for next 20 years at least. And maybe this video won't age well, but I think we'll be okay. And of course, Sanjeev, you're always welcome. There's also another demo. By the way, thanks for reminding me. There's another company that I know really good. Reddit. Let me go to Reddit. Reddit. If you're still here, we're going to go to Strapi. I think they posted something. Where is it? Deploying Strapi. We just need to. Yeah, so right here, this is another great one. I haven't tried this out. I meant to try this out this weekend. I'll put it in the link. This is a company called Notum. They are an agency that professionally build projects for their clients using Next.js and Strapi. So they just released free Strapi 5. And I think they're Next 14 still, but you know, migrated from Next 14 to Next 15 is not that difficult. It's even easier because now they do the opposite. They don't cache anything, where in X14 they cache everything. But I'll share this in a link as well. That's like another good repo for Strapi. And I just pasted my email for no reason. Let me go. I think like Apple, or maybe I didn't copy and paste it, which was also most likely. All right. Anyway, so that's like a cool project to try out. Another thing that I would say is like if you're a developer and you kind of trying to see what production code looks like, what I would empower you to do is to, and I'm going to use Strapi as an example. You don't have to use Strapi, but find open source projects. Like for instance, Strapi, it's open source, right? So if I type Strapi, I think I have a fork in my code base that I could mess with. But if you go to Strapi, you could fork it and you could literally look at all of the code base of this whole huge headless CMS project and kind of see how we code certain features. You could even find, like, if you find a bug, you could do a PR request or what have you. So like if you're, you know, learning, like try to always find ways to step out of your comfort zone and, you know, try to push yourself. So this is like a really good way for you to look at a production project that a big company or fairly decent sized company, well, we have like about 80 employees, so maybe we're not that big, but like working on a project, you could literally like have access to the whole code base and work on contributing, even if it's by like finding bugs or what have you. So yeah, that's another recommendation I will give. Let me take a look at some questions. So yeah, not too many questions, yeah, which is perfectly fine. Again, I didn't expect this stream to go crazy. I just wanted to get into a habit, and then I realized I'm traveling next week. I'm going to try to stream next Sunday. We'll see. I do have like this little portable microphone that I could take with me with my laptop. Maybe that will work. But I will try to stream no matter what. What I want to do is just start to like come back to streaming on Sundays, just because I miss chatting with all of you and just answering questions live and going from there. In terms of like, yeah, if you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll keep babbling on. But can I mail you if any questions? So I'm very bad at answering emails. So that's actually not the best way to talk to me. So here, I'll share my screen again and I'll put the link. So what I do is, let me go to strapi.io events. So it's not just me, but it's some other Strapi team members. So we have open office hours. We have 2 different times. I'm in the afternoon session because I live in the States, 12:30 p.m. CST time. So you could literally stop by there and ask any questions you have. So it's me, another team member from Strapi, Derek, with other community members. And I'll share like the Strapi link here. So that's a great place and the best place to talk to me, because I don't like, there's 2 places that you could talk to me. When I live stream, and you could talk to me right now, or in Strapi Discord, because I have ADHD and I have such a hard time keeping up with all my emails. And that's like my problem, like not your problem, but to kind of make it easier for everybody, the best place to talk to me, it's either Strapi open office hours or in when I stream here this way, just because that's just how my brain works, unfortunately. So sorry about that. But yeah, so that would be the best place. And the best part about the Strapi Discord is that if I don't know the answer, there's probably someone more knowledgeable than I am that could help you out. But here's an interesting thing that I like considered. Like I know like there's a lot of folks, always talk about like, getting their first development job, and the one thing that I've noticed is that there's so many different types of positions outside of just getting a job, let's say, at a big company when you do like a big search. Like one of the things like, and again, I'll use Strapi as an example. If you go to the Strapi website, we have Strapi partners. And one of the things that I want to show here is that there's a lot of partners, right? There's just tons. And I click join a partner program. By the way, and so what I'm showing you here is that all of these are agencies that specialize in building websites with Strapi as one of their services. And I guarantee you that not many people actually thought of applying to like such an agencies instead of big established companies. At the end of the day, it's still a job as a developer. I don't know if any of these are taking in applications, but what I'm saying is that, as an example, is when you're applying to jobs, and this is like one of the things I did when I first started applying to jobs as a junior developer, is I applied everywhere. And what I did is I looked at my local marketing agencies that also provided website services, and I applied there. And my first job was actually working as a WordPress developer, doing very basic front-end edits. So I just want to kind of quickly share that. Then let's see more questions. One last question I have: a setup Strapi local with database on MySQL. I want to make it live on Strapi Cloud. Is it possible? Yes. So you should be able to deploy your project to Strapi Cloud, which uses a Postgres database. And what you're able to do is you could take all your local data and you could seed it to the cloud. So if I go to Doxy, I'll show you in a second. Strapi has the CLI tool where is this an example? This is a different example. Let me search. We actually like introduced this new AI feature, which basically scours our docs and gives a better answer. How to transfer data to Strapi Cloud. And like this is kind of cool because we actually point which data set to use, part of the embedded database, so that way you get the answer that you want. And here's exactly the answer it's going to tell. So Strapi has a CLI, it's called DTS, data transfer system, and basically it allows you to import, export, but it also allows you to transfer. And what transfer does, it allows you to transfer your local data from your local Strapi instance, for instance, your instance with running like MySQL, and you can transfer it directly to your Strapi Cloud project. For instance, if you wanted to keep your data just doing MySQL and then transfer it to Strapi Cloud, which we only use Postgres at this point, you can do it this way. Or you could migrate your local project to use Postgres and then push your data that way as well. But using transfer is the easiest way. That's basically the answer there. Let's see here. Yeah, any other questions, any suggestions? Yeah, no pressure. I'm just hanging out. I'm just trying to get into the swing of getting, into streaming live again. Yeah, you should be able to do it on the developer version. I have a couple of Strapi Cloud projects, and I only have one on Pro tier, and all the other ones are on developer tier. Yeah, so no worries. You should be able to easily transfer it to your dev tier account, because that's what I use. I have like 4 projects, I believe, in Strapi Cloud. Yeah, and then only one of them is Pro tier. and you're welcome. Um, so yeah. Anyway, if anybody else have any questions, let me know. I'm always, yeah, always, you know, excited to chat with all of you, and I miss doing these live streams. I'm definitely gonna bring it back. Yeah. Just trying to think if I what else can I talk about outside of yeah, I just been busy with work, which is good. I'm not complaining. I'm very thankful. Also, like the thing that I was gonna say is with like job hunting, it's very very difficult, and it's just the way it is. And one of the things that I started to do, and again, I'm just sharing it with you because I want to be like, you know, kind of just tell you what I'm doing in my life. And so I know the state of the world is weird with everything that's happening all over the world, you know, not just in the United States. And so what I've been doing is downsizing my lifestyle to get to a point where, like, obviously you need to pay your bills, right? And if you have, and again, I live in America and obviously very privileged, but for me, I was like, let me cut down my expenses. Like, I don't need it. Like, I had a small apartment. I got even smaller apartment because I was like, you know what? I want to keep my cost of living as low as possible, because if I do get laid off, I want to be in a position where I could like be able to have, you know, easier time to maintain my bills. And I know that's like very, very tough a lot of times for folks to kind of like, because it's like, how much can I save, you know, if you're already saving everything you can. But I think like combination for me to make myself kind of be more prepared is not to live be like above my means. And I think that's more of an American thing. So like if you're in other countries, it's probably not like an issue for you. But what I wanted to do is get to a point where all like I'm basically living not as cheaply as possible, but to a point where if I lose my job, I'm not freaking out as much. And I know it's hard depending where you are in life. If you're married, if you have kids, you have other responsibilities. You also have like support, you know. But yeah, so the way I think about for me to prepare for 2025, if I'm going to lose my job, is one, spend part of my like days or weekends thinking about looking for potential companies that I would like to work at, learning about their interview process and applying. The second thing, maybe like, yeah, my settings. So I have this new, like, it's probably totally me. And let me figure this out. Let's see if this works. I'm going to try to adjust some settings and you let me know if it's going to blow up or not. Because it is definitely my audio. Again, I downsized my audio setup. Why did I do that? I don't know. So I'm probably not using it right, but hold on a second. Let me try my settings, because this is one of the reasons why it's nice to have the stream is I could ask you if this is better, if this is making sense. So let's go to stream. Let's go to audio. And this will probably sound a lot better. So like, let me know. Yeah, and my kitty, of course, attacking everything on the table because that's how she is. But this audio should be better. And part of me, it's like I downsized my setup a lot. I used to have a fancy audio thing. Now I have this like tiny thing because I'm weird. So I, A, don't know how to use it. B, probably had my settings. Oh, thanks. Letting me know that it's better. It's fantastic. Yeah, so like my idea is to kind of be in a place where I don't have a lot going on in terms of financial responsibility, to be a little bit more fluid. At least that's where I'm at in my life. And I know it's very different for a lot of people. But yeah, basically, I feel like my ideal, like planning for 2025 would be, and again, this is ideal. I'm not saying this is where I'm at. The one thing that I'll try to do is save up 6 months of living expenses. And part of the reason downsizing is to make it a little bit easier. That way, if you are out of a job for 6 months, you plan for it. You have money that, like, you know, you could pay your bills. So that's going to alleviate a lot of stress. I think a lot of reasons why a lot of people stress out, at least in America, and again, I'm only speaking as an American, is that when they lose their job, they lose their steady source of income. And because they don't have enough savings to last them for 3, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months of not having a job, that creates so much stress that people will freak out. So I think planning financially for the time you're going to lose your job, I think that's important. Number 2, my second strategy is every 3 months is to apply to new companies and try to go through the interview process, regardless if I actually want the job or not. I think it'll be important to continue to work on that skills and practice. I think that's super important. And then to help me out, for that period of like the 3 month, like every 3 months when I'm looking for a job, is basically in the meantime is to look at the potential companies that I want to work at, do some research about what type of people work there, what kind of interviews that they do, and then prepare for the mock interviews for those companies. And so the idea being like, first month I identify like the companies, I start prepping. Second month I start, sending resumes, and then I continue to send resumes into the third month until I get a list of a couple of interviews that I could go for, and then go for those interviews, regardless if I'm looking for a job or not. If I get the job, I don't have to take it. I actually like very happy at my current job, thank God, and if like the only way like I'm going to leave if they fire me, because I just really love what I do. But at the same time, I think it's important. So 1 is have that financial emergency fund. 2, continue applying even if you have a job, just so you stay in practice, even if you do it every 3 or 4 months. And then 3 is always ask yourself, where is the development shifting, and try to identify areas of improved skills that could add value to you as a developer that will help you to get more hireable. Like one thing I've noticed is like, regardless if you're like front-end engineer, there's part of like your job is, building the project. Yeah. But then the second part is understanding how it all works in the whole process of deployment. And one of the things that I realize is that it's not just build your project, but it's also knowing what are the best options for deployment that will be appropriate for your company in terms of scaling, or being able to have a lot of users that come up, use your website, stuff like that. So there's always growth. And what's interesting, a lot of those use cases are not solved by AI. So there's still a lot of things that you need to learn as a developer that you could grow your skill. Bunks ship SaaS CLI. So I've never tried it. Now I'm curious. Let me look it up. My kitty's on the table again, walking around. Ship SaaS. Another thing, Bunks. Oh, Bun. It's by Bun. So I actually don't use Bun at the moment. I know there's a lot of like rage. I'm one of those. My cat just touched my camera, so it zoomed to my face. Look at the scaring everybody. Come on, kitty. You want to say hello? Look at this. Troublemaker. It's just me and my 2 cats. Always messing stuff up. You know what? Somebody told me, like, you know how you get subscribers to your channel? You don't ever show your face. You just do cat streams. You just let your cats do the coding and the talking. And that's how you get 1 million subscribers. So, yeah. But to your answer, Kamsi, like, I haven't tried it because I try not to. Like I try new things, but within the frameworks that I work with. And so at the moment, all the things that I worked on are not powered by Bun. And so I am not exploring it. So sorry, I don't have a good answer for you. But one of the things I was going to say, I know like Logic Indy was here a while ago. I don't know if he's still here, but one of the things he like what he used to do, which I think was amazing, is he was building JavaScript powered games with Canvas, which were really amazing because he needed to write a lot of complex logic, and he really needed to think through kind of like, how to organize that logic. And I think stuff like that really makes you practice the stuff that, is very hard to learn by building websites, is critical thinking and figuring and thinking about things. And so one of the things I started to do, because I again tried to revisit like data structures and algorithms, because I'm not an expert. I try to learn them as I go. But one of the things that I started to do is try to, like, when you learn an algorithm or a data structure, try to figure out some sort of like visual example that, you know, kind of helps to showcase like what you learned. And I found that when you do things visually, you're able to kind of have a better understanding of how it's done. And so I'll just share here. So I started this. This is what's funny. This is an Astro website. So because I have ADHD, I was like, I'm going to try to make this game. I'm not saying you should make games, but I thought that was interesting. But what I did, let's see if I could remember the URL. Map. Oh, crap. Now I don't remember, but I saved it as Simple Graph. Yeah. So this is come on, Simple Graph. That's what I want to show you. So like when you're learning data structures, just try to figure out like cool ways of, instead of just doing them on lead code, try to build a project that utilizes this data structure. So I created this graph visualizer in JavaScript and Canva where you could add nodes. And so I'm just kind of putting it on different intersections of the road, right? And this is basically nodes on a graph, and you could connect your edges to your graph, right? And so when I was learning about graphs, it's like, well, let me like try to build something cool using graphs, you know, and now I'm like visually able to represent that. And again, the reason why I have the map here, the map is not functional from the standpoint, but it's like, hey, how do people represent roads on a map? Well, they're probably using a graph structure. And what I'm able to do, I'm able to set a starting point and an end point, and notice how it will show the shortest path to that endpoint. So this is using search algorithm to kind of try to figure out what is the shortest path, right? And so basically what I started to do is try to, at least for me, is to think about like the data structures and algorithms I'm learning, how are they used in real life? So this is one example. There's one course that I started to take. Let me see if I could find it on my Twitter. Twitter. Why am I doing Z? It's X. They always like X, Z, Twitter. Like, who cares? I shared it. This course that I started to take, which I wouldn't recommend for beginner developers, but for someone who kind of like wants to get a little bit deeper. So I signed up for this course called, let me now go to the course. And this is what everybody does. $79 is a lot of money, but it's what everybody does. I don't remember my email. Anyway, that's everybody in like computer science like program. They all do one course where they build the, compiler and an interpreter. And so what's cool is that, compilers and interpreters, they use a couple of the common algorithm data structures like graphs, and trees and a bunch of other stuff. And so I was like, you know what, let me take a course, because this is not something I'm comfortable with. Let me take a course and kind of learn how to do this. So this is something that I'm actually working through this weekend, which probably is not going to take me just a weekend. It's definitely going to take me a lot longer. But what I'm trying to find is, don't just keep taking that same Next.js course. If you if you took, this is something I've set for a while, and this is something that I learned very late in my career, is that if you already took like a Next.js course, you probably don't need any more Next.js courses. If you already took a good JavaScript course that taught you the basics and some intermediate, you probably don't need to take another JavaScript course. And the way I would equate this, and what I tell people, is when you start, let's say first grade, you learn math at first grade level. When you go to like your second grade, you're not going to repeat that same course you took last year. No, you're going to learn math appropriate for second grade. And what I found out a lot of developers, especially new developers, do is they keep relearning the same thing that they already had exposure to. And what I would say, even if you don't remember everything specifically. As you keep pushing yourself, building more complex projects, you're still gonna have to go back and not relearn, but review some of the stuff that you might have forgot. And so that's something that I really started to try to focus on, is to work on constantly trying to step out of my comfort zone as a developer. And what I found out, like, it helped me to better be able to, let's say, jump into code of another language that I don't use and not know everything, which I don't, but to kind of at least start to find my bearings to try to figure out what's going on. And I think that's kind of cool. And then I haven't looked at the comments forever. Yeah, yeah. If I'm going to make a game, it's going to have amazing music. Probably 1000% true. Another thing that I was going to say, a lot of people ask, like, what projects should you make? I don't know if I pushed this to GitHub. So, but like, think of building projects that solve like problems that you have. So the reason why Logic says that, it's because like I'm learning how to make music. And so I love trying to create music. I'm not a musician, by the way. And so, I have this thing here. I'll show you quickly. Let me make the screen bigger. And this is like why I think learning development is awesome, because you get to build things that you really need. So here, let me quickly show you. So I'm learning music, right? And here's what the piano looks like. This is the piano, right? The piano has the keys, and sequence of keys make chords. Okay, they make chords. But I don't make music on my keyboard. Like, I'm learning how to play keyboard. To make music, I have this thing called Ableton Push. And notice how everything is laid out in a grid. I think it's 8 by 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 by 8 grid. And it has a mode for chromatic scale, which everything is in order. And so I have no idea how to play chords on the chromatic scale on the Ableton Push, because I just don't know, and I have to learn. And so I could physically press buttons, see what note is playing, and try to figure out what the chords are. Or I was like, you know what? I'm a developer. It doesn't have to be perfect. And so I made this application which allows you to select any scale. You could also look up each individual chords, and it's going to show you how each piano structure of the scale looks on the Ableton Push. So I basically created an app that allows me to quickly look up what piano equivalent chord is on a chromatic push scale. And this is why I tell people they should always learn to strive to be developers, because you're going to get the most important skill that will allow you to build things that solve your problem. And if it solves your problem, it might probably solve somebody else's problem. So yeah, so that's like one example and use case of things. Let's see. Starting to feel my voice going. So I'm not going to go too crazy. Norton Chip, now benchmark this against blah. Yep. Hold on a second. ShipSass CLI is the killer of Mark. Loot ShipFast BS. You can run bunks. ShipAss. Dude, ShipAss. I meant to say ShipSass. ShipAss, that would have been cool if they called it. Sorry, my brain's low. But DB payment provider. So yeah, if that sounds cool. Like, again, I haven't tried Burnout at all. I think like my whole thing, like, pick the thing that you like best that allows you to move quickly and go from there. And hey, Miko, good to see you again. Tuck says, what happened to the Astro Crash Course series? I really liked it. Dude, I have ADHD. It's not an excuse. I know. I am going to finish it. I swear to you, I am going to be taking a week off, but I will work on some of the tutorials. So I started working on courses to realize that courses are really hard. And obviously, like, I want to just release stuff for free. And more importantly, I wanted to make courses so I could create this LMS for my courses. I was more interested not making the courses, to be honest, but making this platform to showcase my courses, which is weird because it's not weird because I'm a developer, but I will finish the Astro course, and it's most likely going to focus Astro with Strapi. And I already created the simple UI for the course, just so like you know that. And when I say I created, oh man, I got a template for it, so it will happen. It will happen. But I also appreciate you asking that question, because that just reminds me, hey, people want to see your next part of the course. Nice. Hey, I'm currently working on decoupled Drupal stuff. That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, dude, here's the thing that I want to say. There's so many goddamn frameworks. Like, I want to learn all of them. I just know that I can't, because there's A, not enough time, and B, like way too much to learn. And so I'm trying to limit myself. So I limit myself to only working on Astro. For front-end frameworks, it's literally Astro. If I want to do vanilla JS via their Astro components, I don't bring in any libraries. I do Next.js if I want it to be ranked on YouTube, because everybody loves Next.js, but I really love Remix. I know they took a little hiatus because they just released React Router 7, but like this project here, this is built with Remix. It is deployed on Vercel, which is, I was like too lazy. Vercel, I already have an account, so that's why it says Vercel here. But yeah, this is using Remix, and I am also building the same project with Next. But yeah, just I stick to my guns. And before I go, I'll quickly tell you like what my workflow for building anything looks like. Just quickly, let me hit the comments here before I do that. And then Miko says, I'm currently making a component library with React Emotion. Wanted to have a functional design system to build faster. No, that's awesome. You'll have to let me know like when you get some stuff that you want to showcase. I'd love to take a look at it. Dude, building component library, I think is very smart, but it's also time consuming, I feel like. But very important, very important. I am lazy in that regard, Miko. I'm like, oh man, I'm just going to use something else because I don't know. That's a lot of work, to be honest. So let me look at the comments here quick, and then I'll want to show you what I do. Hey, Jose had to go, so take care, Jose. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you later. Yeah, it's fine. You also don't need to make tutorials. Seeing your code in an actual project would be cool. Long form or an episode doesn't matter. Yeah. So that's one of the things. I'll still finish I still want to finish the courses that I started. More so for practice for myself, and the practice for my ADHD is to actually finish what you start. So for the courses that I have here, I am going to try to finish Next.js crash course. I will probably redo this because Next 15 is out, which is like annoying, but I am going to definitely finish the Strapi 5 crash course, the Astro course, and the Next.js crash course for sure. There's definitely a hidden one right here. Which is, yeah, whatever. So these 4 courses I'm gonna work to finish. But to your point, what I want to say, Tux, is that I started making videos where instead of like showing the whole tutorial, what I do is just show the codes example of that implementation. And one of the videos, and I think that's like the format I'm gonna do. Like for instance, coding after 30 view your channel. For instance, I created a video called how to set up Next Auth 5 and Next.js 15, which was like a short encapsulated tutorial. And obviously because I used Next.js and Auth, it did okay for the size of my channel. And like I released it 12 days ago, but it's got 1,500 views, which is pretty cool. So I think what I'm going to do is make videos like shorter tutorials that I could reference, and then basically, or kind of show a project that I'm working on and then kind of highlight like a thing. For instance, working on this project for fun. Let me show you here. YouTube summarize. And so what I might do is kind of like, this is the idea I'm thinking for videos, is kind of demo like the thing that I built. For instance, this should summarize your videos, right? So like do like basically I'm just kind of showing you like, oh, I'm gonna show and the reason why I did it fast because it already knows that I summarized this video before. So instead of re-summarizing it again, it just like returned the saved summary already. And so basically I would be like, oh, here's how it works. And then like, let's take a look at the code. Then I'll open it in VS Code, and then I'll show like, this is how I implemented this, input field. Okay, how does this work under the hood? And I'll basically just show code snippets and stuff like that. And that way I won't feel pressure to always have a long form or tutorial that I'm working. I could just work those on my own time, but at least I'll have these intermediary videos where I cover a certain aspect of Next.js or Astro or Remix of how I did a thing. So I think that'll be like a cool approach and cool way to do it. And Nico says, my goal is to work at an agency next year. So that's why I decided to make a component library. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And for agencies, exactly, like having a systematic approach that helps you to build things faster. For instance, having a component library that all your projects could use. I think that's really awesome and very smart for sure. Advait said, and they probably pronounced things wrong because I always do. I'm new to Strapi. Can you tell me Strapi position in CMS market? I might be a little bit biased because I work at Strapi, but I literally, for majority of my projects, I use it to save me bajillion hours of development time. So instead of having to create the backend myself, I would just use Strapi, like headless CMS. So I'll show you a quick example since I already have this project open. So this is already deployed on Vercel. And basically, what I'm doing is I'm generating a summary, and instead of like setting up Prisma and like pointing to a database, which you can do, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna store all this data in my Strapi CMS. So I have my Strapi instance and it's stored in Strapi Cloud. I'll just quickly show you. And so you could deploy, the cool part about Strapi is like, so you could deploy it pretty much anywhere. And I realized I'm not sharing my screen. So what I was saying earlier is that I created this app where I want people to generate summaries, right? So let me like refresh this. For instance, I already generated a summary for this. So I don't want it to go through the whole process of generating the summary again and hitting my OpenAI credits. So when you click generate, it basically fetches, it checks if a summary for this video ID exists. If it does, I'll go ahead and just fetch it. And basically what I'm doing, I have this Next.js responsible for the summary generation, but I have my Strapi instance where I use this for everything, by the way. So you're going to have a lot of stuff, like including like host my music that I write. Gmail. Yep, I'm giving you my Gmail email, which is perfectly fine. Can I remember my password though? Probably not. Yeah, and so if you take a look, this is a Strapi admin. I think Strapi is the #1 headless CMS at the moment. Of course, everybody will have their opinions, and the reason why it's top is because you can get started out of the box really, really quickly, but you can also customize it to your heart desire, because if you know Node, you could literally customize any of the backend. For instance, here, this looks ugly because I haven't finished it yet because I didn't really care about the front end. But if you take a look in the settings, I have this new route exposed, which did not exist in Strapi, right? It's a route that I added via that plugin that you see, which allows me to easily open up an endpoint that could get to do a certain functionality that you want. So I love Strapi in that sense, is that it allows you to get started really quickly, but allows you to customize things any way you want. And so in this case, the plugin does the thing that I want, at least the API endpoint, but you could also just create a collection type like I have here. I have videos summaries collection type. I learned a lesson that there's something broken here, that I don't set the title of the thumbnail, but at least the most important part, because I'm still working on it, I get the full transcript. I also get the transcript with the time codes in case I want to do something, and I get the summary. So basically, instead of having to set up my backend from scratch, I just use Strapi to help me do that. So this Next.js app is still work in progress, but if I select like a different video, right, and go and summarize it, click paste, summarize. It's going to take a moment because this summary does not exist in my Strapi instance, right? doesn't exist yet. It should be here, video summary. This is like my Strapi playground where I test things out or break things. Once the video was generated, for instance, it will have the summary, it'll have the transcript, it'll have the video ID. And so now when I, let's say, refresh to try again and do it a second time, it's going to be much faster. Why? Because it already saved the summary to my Strapi backend. If I just sort by IDs here, this is going to be the ID 7. So this is the summary for that video that I just showed. So for me, Strapi just makes it much easier to iterate because I don't have to build stuff from scratch. It makes it like much easier. So I know I just went on that tangent. So there you go. And Miko's question here, I think that your vids definitely inspire me to make projects and solve problems compared to another Mux I saw. Thanks. That's really awesome. I mean, like for me, like I just love coding, and I started learning to code at age of like 35, 36. And it was very like hard, like transition. And I'm kind of so excited because I wouldn't change. I would, like if somebody said like, if you had to do it again, I would still do the same thing. I would still go into web development and coding because I think coding gives you the superpower to build the things that you want to build, which is like amazing to me. So it's amazing. It's awesome to hear when others say that we inspired you. So, you know, and now being like 44, I'm like, man, like this is so cool. Like I've been doing this. This is awesome. And then let's see. And what's up? Yeah, and I definitely would love to see what you've been building. That's amazing. But anyway, I'm starting to feel my voice slowly exiting, and I'm probably going to lose it. But I just wanted to jump on. I haven't streamed in forever. I'm going to, next week, out of town. So I'll still try to stream. It's probably not going to be as good because I'll probably be on the go, but who cares? And then, yeah. And so before I go, I just want to say all of you who hung out, thank you. I really appreciate all of you. It means a lot to me. And I do want to get back to these streams because I want to talk to you, you know, even if it's on this stream live, to kind of hear how you're all doing, what you all been up to, and kind of see what questions you have. So I'll definitely try to be more consistent with streaming. But with that being said, thanks so much for all that you do, and have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.